Hi everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So, tonight I thought I would run through the 80s studio albums catalogue of that Canadian trio powerhouse that were Rush. Obviously, up until we had the sad passing of that most incredible drummer, Neil Peart. Now, I had the pleasure of seeing the band only twice, I have to confess, on tour. But each time, those guys were able to deliver a salvo of sound the likes I'd never heard before. They were absolutely phenomenal. Anybody who can play, bass guitar and then keyboards simultaneously as well as doing the lead vocals, man, that takes a lot of talent. And Alex Lifeson, the most underrated guitar player, I think, in in the rock world. And of course, Neil Peart, again, such a phenomenal drummer, sadly missed, and I think not as appreciated, um, as well appreciated as he should have been. Anyhow, let's dive into the 80s catalogue of studio albums by Rush. Now, of course, this was a turning point in that the bombast and prog rock canoodlery ended up taking a bit of a backseat now, and they moved into the 80s with a more stripped down version of 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 their genre, and you know, again, it was a bit hit and miss, I think, along the way. But from that aside, in 1980, we do have Rush's absolutely wonderful Power Windows. This, you could argue, is a transition from straight out and out prog rock into somewhat of a hybrid, in that there are some prog rock elements in it, but primarily it's more of a stripped down um, album, obviously coming into the 80s and into a new phase of their career. So, of course, on here we've got Spirit of Radio, which did quite well in the charts. It even charted over here in England. I can't remember whereabouts in the charts it got to, but it wasn't too bad actually. And I got to be honest, around that time when I heard, I think it was on Top of the Pops, believe it or not, that Rush had entered the charts, I was like, yes, because I'd been listening to them on the Tommy Vance rock show, the Friday night rock show we used to have over here. And I'd been listening to a live concert of Rush's that he'd broadcast. And so to hear that Spirit of Radio was in the charts, and I heard Rush, and I thought, yes, brilliant. I'm glad they've got a hit here. So yeah, it's got obviously Spirit of Radio, Free Will. Now that is another absolute favourite of mine. I just absolutely love Free Will. Um, it's I suppose it's a humanist song, I guess, but it's so well put together. Everything about it. The lyrics are really well done, and the chord progression. It just everything about it. It's just such a good song. You've got Jacob's Ladder, Entre Nous, Different Strings, Natural Science. So the longest track on here is 9 minutes 16, which is Natural Science, and of course Jacob's Ladder is 7 minutes 28. So a couple of elements on there, but an absolutely brilliant album. Now, next on the list, of course, from 1981 is Moving Pictures. This is the album that most people will gravitate to and talk about if they're on about Rush's 80s output. So on here, of course, you've got Tom Sawyer. Man, who doesn't love Tom Sawyer if they're a Rush fan? It's just absolutely insane. The drumming is just, well, out of this world, isn't it? So then you've got Red Barchetta, obviously, YYZ, Limelight, another great track, I think, The Camera Eye, Witch Hunt, and Vital Signs. I like the album, not as much maybe as some people, but yeah, I like it, and I like the fact I believe that, on some of these songs there's a distinct guitar influence of British band The Police, who were around at that time. Next, we go into 1982's Signals. Now, I have to be honest, I was pretty disappointed when I got this album and I played it at home. It was just, oh man, I can't, do you know what? I can't tell you how I was so, it was just, to me, it was just too much keyboard, too much keyboard. The saving graces on here for me, to be honest, were Subdivisions, a New World Man. I think probably they're the only two I've really, really played, and enjoyed. Everything else. To be honest, yeah, it's not my favourite album, and yeah, and in fact, I would say, coming up to 1984, the Grace Under Pressure album, I actually prefer this more. And I know, again, there's a lot of keyboards and stuff. That was the time, the 80s was a lot of keyboards. But to be fair, Distant Early Warning, Red Sector A, The Enemy Within, Body Electric, Red Lenses, Between the Wheels, I think all of these tracks on here are pretty good. Some are better than others. But in my own opinion, this is a more solid album, a better one than 1982's Signals. A personal favourite of mine, I have to confess, is 1985's Power Windows. I do like this album. It's got a special memory for me. It's one of those first sort of albums I bought. So, I've rambled on about that many times. But I do love it. All the tracks on here, the Big Money, Grand Designs, Manhattan Project, regarding obviously the atomic bomb, Marathon, About Running, Territories, Middletown Dreams, Emotion Detector, Mystic Rhythms. Yeah, great stuff. I mean, the writing around, obviously, somebody writing a song about running is pretty unusual, or it was to me at the time. And, a song about, obviously, the atomic bomb, again, it was just something. I just thought it was really good. It was really intelligently written, and a lot of stuff about Rush that always attracts me is the vast range of artwork that they produced on their last sort of albums when they were coming towards the end of their career. I didn't think there was a lot of attention really paid to the cover artwork as there used to be back in the 70s and 80s. But during, as I say, 70s and 80s, I thought, album covers, they were always a draw for me. Loved it. Sometimes I like the album covers better than the album, actually, I think. So, follow up to Power Windows, we ended up having, if I can remember what the name is, the heck? Oh, Hold Your Fire. That's it. Hold Your Fire from 1987. Again, I quite like this album. You've got Force 10, Time Stand Still, again, which was a hit for them at the time, featuring Amy Mann. You've got Second Nature, Prime Mover, Open Secrets, Lock and Key, Mission, another one I really like, Turn the Page, Tai Shan, and you know what, the cover on this is awful, and High Water. But I do like a lot of the tracks on this. I think they're quite good, quite powerful. It may be not as strong as Power Windows, but nonetheless, I think it's a pretty good album. And anyway, to finish off the 80s and Rush's 80s output, we have Presto. And as we're coming up to Easter, look at those wonderful little bunnies there on the front cover. How wonderful are they? That was the thing, again, that drew me to this when I saw it in vinyl first. But I'm not convinced about this album. I've got to be honest, it's not something I really listen to a lot. I do like The Pass. Man, that is a heartstring, tugger, really, that one. yeah, if you listen to that, well, the first time I heard that, I got to be honest, it brought tears to my eyes. It's a really, really, really powerful message about growing up, trying to fit in, all that stuff. Yeah, it was. That's if this album alone probably is worth it for that track anyway. I do like Superconductor on it. That's good. So I've just run through the track list very quickly. Yeah, Show Don't Tell, Chain Lightning, the Bob, I think it's called. Is it? Sorry, the Pass. That's the one I'm on about. I do apologise. I'm getting old and I can't see very well. War Paint, Scars, Presto, Superconductor, Anagram, Red Tide, Hand Over Fist, and Available Light. So, all in all, I've probably listened more to, as I say, the Pass when I'm emotionally able to do that, and Superconductor rather than any of the other tracks. I think I've listened probably, a number of times to War Paint, but it isn't one of my favourites, to be fair. I think, if anything, Rush's 80s output for me, the ones I really fell in love with were Permanent Waves, Power Windows, liked Grace Under Pressure, loved, loved, so go back to being sorry. Permanent Waves, Moving Pictures, Grace Under Pressure, Power Windows, Hold Your Fire. Those are probably the favourites for me. Presto, it was one of them. I didn't really like the production on it either, to be honest. It sounded a bit thin to me. But anyway, there you have it. The 80s Rush output. It's been a long time away, so forgive me for the ramblings. I've been quite ill for some time. I'm not fully there yet. But anyway, thanks for your support with any videos I've released, whether it's featured me or AI. I just appreciate it, and thank you. So take care all, and I will hopefully see you on the next one.